Hello, this is Coach Wintercheck. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about practice. It's one of our core beliefs that practice is more important than the game. And so it's very, very important that we actually are doing something to back up that belief. All right, so here's a little information about practice that I wanted to share with you. Over the years, I've had many young coaches that try to impress me by telling me how long they practice and how much they wear their athletes out in the practice. It actually does not impress me. All right, I'm going to tell you what does impress me. These things impress me. Number one, a coach who can plan an efficient practice. Emphasis on the word plan. That means we have sat down and we have scripted that practice beforehand. All right. And then also emphasis on the word efficient. All right. Efficient meaning I am not just putting arbitrary drills in there. I am moving from skill to concept to team elements in that area. So we're stair-stepping into things. All right. The next thing that impresses me is a coach who can get in and out of practice quickly. All right. So somebody who doesn't need 3 or 4 hours to practice. I'll tell you this. I think any coach who needs more than 2 hours, that's just too much time. All right. If you can get out in less than 2 hours, then that really impresses me, especially if you're still being efficient. All right. The third thing is a coach who can do those things and accomplish their objectives. You got to have objectives in a practice. All right. You start with the objectives before you plan it. All right. So you know what you're actually trying to do. All right. If you can do those things and accomplish your objectives, that impresses me. The next thing is stay locked in on fundamentals. All right. And we know that we work fundamentals differing amounts during different times of the year. But I'll tell you this: if a coach just spends an hour and a half on team stuff, I don't think that's real effective. So coaches who will lock in on fundamental skills and the teaching of those and the drilling of those, that impresses me. All right. The fifth thing is coaches that will use practice as a discipling tool. That impresses me. You have your kingdom culture, devotion early in the practice, and then something happens in practice, and you can just real quick just divert them or direct them back to the kingdom culture devotion, whatever that is for the week. All right, that impresses me when coaches use practice as a discipling tool. The next thing is condition the kids without them knowing it. That impresses me. Right. Now, that is not to say that we don't have a conditioning time at the end of our practice. I still do that. I have about 5 minutes at the end of every practice. We condition. What it does mean, though, is we don't take 20 or 30 minutes to condition, okay? Because that's just too, if you were doing that, then you weren't running enough in practice. If you can keep your practice moving and keep the pace of it, and you get most of the conditioning done in the practice, then you don't have to do as much at the end. And the conditioning you do at the end, 5 or 10 minutes, they're all in. All right, and the last thing is it impresses me when a coach will finish on time or even early. I mean, that just does. I mean, if you can do all those things and finish on time or early, that's great. We tell our athletes all the time. We'll say, hey, guys, girls, here's what we're going to do for the day. And, we're going to spend this much time on it. But the longer it takes you to get there, we're going to get done when we get done. We're going to let you go at 6 or whatever. But if you get done at 10 till 6, we'll let you go. All right? And we always note when that happens, we'll say, hey, let it be known that the coaching staff has let you go 10 minutes early. All right? Because they can see that. All right. And that's kind of a goal for them. All right, the next thing is practice is a template. Now, not everybody does this. I'm not telling you that you have to do it, but I am telling you this, that after 22 years of coaching, practice for us is a template. And so, anyway, that being said, where'd I go? All right. So that being said, this is what the template looks like. All right, we have a 10-minute integrative warm-up, and what that means is that we're not just warming up, but we're integrating some skills into that warm-up. For instance, we don't always have time just to work on hands, catching. So we work that into our warm-up. All right, we have some drills that we work in there. We actually do some throwing and catching, and then we do some snapping in our warm-up. And everybody does it, all of them. And so we integrate skills into the warm-up that we don't have time for, in other parts of the practice. The next thing is we do a 5-minute Eagle Talk. This is important because this is where we connect with kids. We talk to them about their day. We see how their parents are doing because their mama was sick the other day or whatever. We connect with them. This is also where we do our kingdom culture devotion, all right, because that's part of connecting with them. And we start what's called the rule of 3 in this place. And the rule of 3 is an old teaching concept, and it says that what we're going to do is we're going to tell them what we're about to do, and then we're going to do it. That's the second thing. And the third thing is we're going to tell them what we just did. It kind of locks in, the learning for them, all right, if you'll do that. All right, next thing, we have a 15-minute pod that we call a 3x5 skill rotation. It's really not 50, it's really 3 5-minute segments, but we're broken up into 3 different groups. I've got a coach at each group, and they're going to teach a skill or they're going to drill a skill at their station for 5 minutes, and then we're going to rotate it around until everybody's done that, and it takes about 10 or 15 minutes altogether. Sometimes later in the season, especially, we'll go 3x3. It's only a 3-minute, segment, so we'll get out a little bit earlier. The next segment is a 10 to 15-minute group or concept drill segment. All right, so this is where it's not just an individual skill, right? It is a group skill. So something that we're looking at how we're going to work together as that group. So we stair-stepped it up. And then we have a 20 to 25-minute team time. I don't like going 25 minutes. I'd rather keep it to 20 because I don't like staying in one place more than about 20 minutes. But I do understand that you have to have some team repetitions, running plays and defenses and that kind of stuff because you have to develop, just your continuity with each other. And then after that, we do what's called a 15-minute opposing side add-on. It doesn't have to be opposing side. Opposing side for us means if we were doing all this other stuff on offense, then we're going to come back and do 15 minutes of defense, whatever we need to do with that. It doesn't mean that, but it is an add-on. So it's like we're working on this, but then I got this little segment over here that we're going to do on this other part. All right, then we have 5 minutes of conditioning, short conditioning time. They're all bought in. All right, and then we have a 5-minute wrap-up when we let them go. It stays that way. All right, it stays that way. Here's the deal. The reason the template is important is because kids lock in on the consistency of the schedule. They learn the order, even though there are different drills, and they hustle from station to station. Practice moves quicker and gets done faster if you have a template. Assistant coaches, this impresses me. If you have them, use them. You can assign them certain positions, all right, like this is your post coach or this is your guard coach if you're basketball. But don't limit them to that. Include certain additional skills that they can teach in your skill rotation. For instance, I have an offensive line coach, but in our 3x5 blocking skill rotation, one of my coaches is teaching drive block, one's teaching seal block, and one is teaching cut block. All right, so, but they know they got to be responsible for that because they're going to teach it every time. Right? Give them things to do in your concept drills. And then have elements that no matter what, doesn't matter what it is, these are core elements that every coach has got to be able to teach. We know this on our defensive side, everybody's got to be able to teach Y technique and inside drill. You just got to, right? And on the offensive side, everybody's got to be able to teach cut block, seal block, drive block. They've got to be able to teach that. And so those are those things, elements that every coach needs to be able to teach. Engagement. All right. This means that we try to avoid at all costs having long lines of kids waiting around. Keep them engaged. Run multiple groups if at all possible. Or if the lines are there, I know sometimes you got to have lines, but keep them small. Don't have 12, 15 kids in a line waiting to go. All right. So anyway, those are some things that we've learned about practice over the years, and I hope that helps you. And we hope that you can take some of those things and put them into practice in your practices. So anyway, hope you're having a great day, and we're going to go ahead and move on to some other topics now. So we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.